AITA, for giving my deceased son's college fund to his best friend instead of my nephew? This has been causing a conflict with my entire family. And they think that I'm being selfish and unreasonable. Let me explain first. I, am 39, lost my son in 2019 due to a chronic heart condition. He was 15 years old. It was devastating and I just couldn't take it, especially when my family did little to nothing to support me during these difficult times. They didn't bring my son meals when he was at the hospital. They didn't let me go home and rest even for a few hours. They didn't take care of other things while I had a lot to deal with. I wasn't offered any help, just words. They just talk but do nothing. Despite the struggle, I've created an account for my son's college fund and kept putting whatever I could get at the time, and I and my son would talk about that a lot. He was depressed but always believed that he was going to get better and continue his education and attend college. I started saving money to keep him motivated and to make him feel like he could be like any other kid with hopes for a good future. He had a very close friend that's about the same age as him. They were friends for 5 years, and I can't express how his presence in my son's life helped him through the worst days. Sometimes his friend would spend the night with us and try to get my son to do activities and lighten up his mood all the time. To be frank, his friend was closer to him than his own family. He never stopped visiting and asking how I'm doing after my son's death. He'd show me handmade projects he made for my son, and as a way to remember him, and we'd sometimes just sit and talk together or cry together. Last week, while I was with my family, my sister asked me what I was going to do with my son's college money. I didn't want to mention this, but since she asked, I told her that I will be giving the money to my son's friend. She barely even recognized his friend and was confused and said that my nephew deserves this money since he's family. My mom agreed that I wasn't thinking straight and that I should help the people close to me, family, and that my nephew has a right to go to college, and I was wrong for giving this opportunity away to someone else. I didn't know what to say. They kept pointing out that I was making a mistake and how my nephew will resent me if he finds out. Thing is, my nephew wasn't close to my son. I don't even know why he'd be bothered. My sister went on about not being able to afford my nephew's college. I told her this was my decision and I felt more comfortable that way. She started lashing out, constantly texting me, constantly wanting to talk to me, and ending up arguing. When I snapped, she had my mom calling me, basically guilt-tripping me and telling me I'm wrong and that I needed to think about this. It's just too much pressure and I'm feeling lost and unable to figure out how to deal with this. NTA. Ask her what her plan was for her son's college if yours hadn't died, and then tell her to do that. You aren't obligated to do anything whatsoever with that money that you don't want to do. She says that I'm supposed to help since she's struggling and neither her nor my brother-in-law are doing well financially. I'm not being bitter and getting back at them as they say. She's wrong. You don't owe them your son's money. As an absolute last resort, you can tell them that you discussed it with him and these were his wishes, but don't feel like you have to justify your decision to them. You don't owe them. Hang in there. I know family guilt can feel awful, but if your son were looking over your shoulder, I think he'd agree with you, and that's what matters. God, I see posts like this often and I'll never understand the mindset. The idea of expecting to be supported by my brother just boggles my mind. He and his wife just gave my fiancé and me a generous cash engagement gift, and I was absolutely floored with appreciation knowing how much they didn't need to do that. Entitlement is so weird, isn't it? NTA times 1000. Simple math can determine a fair split for everyone involved. Every time someone came to visit you and your son in the hospital, they get a point. The total of their points divided by the sum of all points will determine the percentage of your son's college fund they get. No visits, no points, no money. 100% fair and equitable for everyone involved. If they're not acting like family, they don't deserve to be treated as family. Op should make a pie chart of this and send it to every family member he has. Hard agree. And if any of them get upset afterwards, they'll only have themselves to blame for not being there for their family, who only seem to want to be bothered with original post when there's money involved. NTA, and I'm so sorry for Op's loss. Based on this post, that pie chart seems like it'd just be a circle with one color in it. And I am so not seeing a problem with that. Lots of pies are one color. Blueberry, cherry, apple, and this one. Yup. His family will definitely understand now and they'll not resent him anymore if he sends the pie chart. You dropped this /s. Obviously this isn't how it should be done in my opinion, but this will certainly get them off Op's back. If they didn't even visit, then they don't deserve a penny. This is genius. There was a story similar to what you was describing, only for inheritance, somewhere on Pro Revenge, entitled Parents. The grandpa basically effed over his family because they rarely visited and gave original post and his friend all of the inheritance. I remember an EP story where this original post and their partner have a baby fund set up by their in-laws. They are trying to go for a baby but haven't been that successful. They kept it in case they do have one and have been saving up in it for their future child. Well, Op's brother heard about the baby fund and wanted it all for his son, who they haven't saved for at all and will need it in roughly 4 to 8 years' time. Original post said that they should start now. It's crazy what people will do when they hear that money is involved. It's not the entitlement that gets me as much as the crassness of a family member keeping tabs on a cash amount that has suddenly become available. I would never tolerate the start of a conversation like this, let alone have other family members dictate to me what should be done with my money. I feel for you, Op, I really do. I think you've made the right decision here, and you should probably take some time away from your family to grieve in private. NTA Op. ESH family member wise. I couldn't imagine asking my sister about money if she'd just lost her only child. What kind of person do you have to be to even contemplate that? People can think what they want within their own head, but to voice the thought that I'd equate her son's death to a cash windfall for my child, who couldn't even be bothered visiting, is so distasteful, reprehensible, unclassy, greedy and downright effing selfish. Op, you are so definitely not the butthole. Not the butthole in any way, shape or form. I'm so sorry for your loss, and I hope your friendship with his best friend brings you some comfort. He sounds like an amazing young man, heart. Right? What an absolute vulture. Agreed. Calling it an opportunity for her son instead of the loss of her nephew. Shaking my head. I'm sorry, Op. People really suck sometimes. I can't upvote this enough. The entitlement is overwhelming. My parents just offered a respectable chunk of money to go toward a down payment for my house, and while they had been hinting at helping for a while, I'd never just flat out request that money. And when they offered it, I was so thankful and gracious. I think I even said something like, "You didn't have to do that." I appreciate it so much. Op, you are NTA. And also, ever notice that the people say but we're family are the ones who are crossing the line? No one in my family has ever said that to me. You know why? We're good people who give and take without strings, and accept a no or sorry I can't without additional pressure because there's probably a good reason for it. My grandma just dropped $2,000 on a new, to me, car for my brother and me. We were just short and thought she was going to cover the rest, but when we tried to write her a check and talk out a payment plan for the remainder, she was all nope, just pay ahead on your insurance. This is also the grandma who regularly runs me through all the valuables and antiques in her house just in case, and has traded me a $50 gift card for a pack of smokes like a prison trade. Family helps family, not family takes advantage of family. Op, you shouldn't feel obligated to give the money to relatives who didn't care enough when your son was alive. You know what he would want. The relationship you and your grandma have sounds amazing. Kind of reminds me of my baba. You are spot on too. Family helps family, not family takes advantage of family. I just had to reply because your comment was a light in the darkness of a sad "am I the butthole?" Well, you and your family are members of a rare breed, the reasonable adult. It's good to hear this still exists after reading this sub. Cultural/traditional families are weird like that. They assume family always comes first before everything and you have to help them no matter what. That's why they could care less about keeping an actual relationship. They think they're going to get it automatically by being related. I've stepped away from my extended family for reasons like that. Ask them this simple question: where were they when you and your son needed help and support? Yes, came to say exactly this, not the butthole. I came here to say this as well, just not as nicely. Def not the butthole. Epping this? Like reading that line hurts, and who are the hell are they to ask for money when they didn't even support you? Exactly this. The nephew doesn't deserve the money because he has done nothing to earn the money. You could choose to gift it to him, just like you can choose to gift it to a young man who was a tremendous support to your son and now to you. Man, I just tell them there was an error in the college investment account and the money is gone. Put it into high-interest savings till this kid turns 18 and give it to him as a graduation gift. Love this idea. A gift from both you and your son. High-interest savings is like 1%. Stick it in the stock market. Even over 3 years it's likely to go up, and realistically, he could do whatever it was that he was going to do for a year or two if the stock market drops for a bit. I doubt it's enough to pay for 4 years. Yeah, even an index fund or something is way better than a effing savings account. Banks, they just make money off of your capital. Op has every right to go gambling away that money if she wants so. Nobody has any right to the money. She can give it to the friend because that certainly is better use than give it to a casino, but she can tell the greedy family that the money went down the drain in a single evening. I think original post is a dude, but absolutely agree. Yes, original post is male. First, I'm so sorry for your loss. Second, NTA. Third, NTA. Fourth, NTA. Finally, NTA. I concur. Not the butthole. I would really like to point out the following info. NTA. Additionally, NTA. And to summarize all these information we gathered, NTA. I've got a whole bag of not the butthole with your name on it. Okay, well, counterpoint. NTA. I feel like I really need to add an addendum to the fourth point and mention NTA. At all. Even a little bit. Also, NT-effing-A. If you don't feel comfortable telling them to F off to the far side of F, and when they get there, keep going. I will do it for you for free. You are so not the butthole I cannot even. NTA. With a PS, block those buttholes. Not quite emphatic enough. Original post is entirely not the butthole. NTA. I'm struggling to see why your sister thought it was any of her business to ask what you were doing with the college money. It's your money and you can do whatever you want with it. And yes, your reasons for giving it to your son's friend are sound. He genuinely sounds like he deserves it. Agree. Even if his reasons weren't sound, it's his money and his family can damn well F the F off. Also, happy cake day. Yeah, if original post wanted to blow it on a luxury car or a vacation or booze and cocaine, it's his money, he can do what he wants. He could have literally spent it on a swimming pool worth of gummy worms, and if that was his choice it would have been fine. And still wouldn't have been TA. The cynic in me immediately thought this wasn't random, and she's probably been waiting since Op's son was alive / Op started putting away money for her son to ask that question. That was backed up even further by original post saying how offended her sister got, and how her sister and brother-in-law weren't saving for their son themselves. Something in me is saying they just expected the money / were banking on his college fund being transferred to their own son when Op's son died. Cynical me says they weren't going to tell their son that they didn't save the money. I wouldn't be surprised if they already promised it to him, from sister and her spouse. Yes, this. That's why your nephew will resent you if he finds out. Comment struck me, like why would he be expecting that money anyway? I know as a teenager I wouldn't have expected someone else's money, even if they've passed, unless I was specifically told that I would receive that money. Sounds to me like Op's sister already promised the money to her son and was freaking out about what to do when she realized that wasn't going to happen. Or it'll go something like, Mom, Dad, why don't we have money for college? Because your mean uncle won't give us money. I can just imagine. I know we're your parents and we are technically responsible for your well-being, but the reason you don't have college money isn't because we failed to plan ahead, but because your greedy uncle won't give us his past son's money. Such a delusional family. Agreed. I'm also struggling with this. Who in their right mind would even think of asking this? I've heard plenty of stories about entitled people in this subreddit. But she takes the absolute entitled cake. Agreed, this is tacky as F. Op is not the butthole, but the sister sure is a major one. NTA, do not give that money to your nephew. I find it funny that they say your nephew may resent you if he finds out. How would he find out? From his mother? Maybe she should just keep her mouth shut. The fact that a teenage boy was more supportive to you than all the adults in your family speaks volumes. Tell your sister that if her son works hard, he can get scholarships. I'm so sorry for your loss. Here's hoping when the nephew comes to learn that his uncle didn't give him his deceased cousin's college fund, he wouldn't take any offense and redirects it towards his mother. I'll give him the benefit of doubt that he'd be well-rounded enough to not blame his uncle and start questioning why his mom was banking on his cousin's death. I've read, on this subreddit, about people who grew up with entitled parents, and they luckily fell really far from the tree. So fingers crossed the nephew doesn't take after his mom. I know it sounds optimistic, but I'm a glass-half-full kind of guy. Oh yeah, definitely can't judge the nephew. Hopefully he is a nice boy. Just because he wasn't close with his cousin doesn't make him a bad person, just an unfortunate situation. If my parents asked my uncle for the college fund that he'd saved up for my cousin, who died suddenly and tragically when she was still in school, I would resent my parents, not my uncle, for making such a disgusting request. I would never have accepted that money knowing my parents pried it from my grieving uncle's hands by guilt-tripping him. My little brother, who was her age and taking on student loan debt at that time, absolutely would never have taken it either. I can't wrap my head around this at all. Ops family sounds awful. NTA. Next time your sister wants to talk about being resentful over you not helping out her son, be sure to remind her how resentful you are that she offered all help with yours when you needed it. The absolute gall. Your son's friend was his family, and has continued to be so. You can't expect something that was never meant for you. NTA. I wonder if Op's sister is the golden child. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.